Hey, what's up, guys? Tukey here, back again with another episode of my Cincinnati Reds Draft to Glory franchise mode series. It's a mouthful of a title, as it always is. In this episode, we get going on the 2025 season. We're already that far into it. Before we get started, though, on the whole thing, let's talk about a couple of your comments. First and foremost, Ari, as far as job security goes, and Andrew Duddy responded to this, we turned off owner firing or GM firing, so yeah, we're fine. Not to worry. We are here for as long as we can be, at least until we hit the cap, which honestly in MLB, I'm not sure. Is it 25 years like it is in NHL? Well, let me know. I'm honestly not sure. Brian Melchior, look at a Players' War. I should. I mean, I read that wrong too. Look at Players' War, which I should. It is a much more important stat. Obviously, I kind of gotta not look at everything for the sake of time. But you're right, it is important when we probably should look for the most part. And Ethan, I do really need to start kind of manually handling training. I don't like to because I'm lazy, I'll be honest. It's a little bit tedious. But for the moment, especially with Carrasco, I've taken a look. We've set that up. And hopefully we can get the hits per nine up there because obviously I think it was a 28, quite low, quite low. And as far as the contracts go, definitely a tool that we might be using in the future if need be. That said, I mean, again, we took a look at the roster at the beginning of the last episode. I'm intrigued to see what the team can do this year. Very optimistic for the season despite the 1-5 start. Hopefully we can do well. I'll see you guys at the draft. We're going to try to go a full calendar year here, and we'll see what we can do. What do you guys think? How good of a season is it going to be? 20-ish wins by the draft? Hopefully. We'll find out. Well, we did hit 20 wins, 23 to be exact, but we are 23 and 36 on the season, so not exactly off to a flying start. We are dead last in our division, but not by a ton. The previously dominant Pirates are struggling at the moment. I just think it's kind of interesting to note that we are the worst team, though, regardless, at least in the NL. The AL features two teams worse than us. Shockingly, actually, quite a few teams worse than us. What the? No, one team in Cleveland. My bad. For a second, I'm like, do we have 25 wins? 23? The answer was 23. Regardless, it is time to get to a draft, is it not? Let's do this. 24 wins. We do not have the number one pick. The Angels take the pick, and they take catcher Dirk Franklin, who, I gotta be honest, based off of what we're seeing there, they just done goofed. We have an amazing opportunity here to get a number one talent with the second pick, and we start off with starting pitcher Clyde Martin, who is great for the most part, not elite in any aspect, but certainly good enough here. The starting pitcher, blue chip as well. Already I'd be more confident in that pick than who the Angels ended up taking. We also have Rick Clemens, good contact, not second overall pick worthy. I'd say he's pretty well-rounded. I'd rather take the starter, though, especially when we still have the need for a dominant ace. Jarvis Ross, the third baseman, high injury risk as well. Certainly not going to take that chance. Andreas Garcia, not better than Martin. We also have Les Webb, the closer, who is going to be fairly ridiculous. I would rather take Martin, though. So right now, we're still looking pretty good here. Juan Acevedo, pretty damn good as well. Between Acevedo and Webb, both are going to be pretty solid. I'd rather take the starter. Chuck Kidd's 22, but he's 4+ years away, so no thank you. Rich Mendoza, he's decent, but high injury risk as well, so no thanks. Freddie McGee, he's 21, though. It's a little bit rough for someone 4+ years away. I think I'm going to avoid him unless he's crazy good. And while he is pretty good, not better than Martin in my opinion. Charlie Hammock, great name. Solid pitcher, not taking him here. We also have Theo Miller as a starter. Not better than what we have with Martin. So this decision right now, there's really no controversy to it. Stephen Block, really good power. I know he's a blue chip, but that's going to be a low overall, man. If he's 4+ years away, that's not worth it. Benito Alvarado could be competition to Martin. All right, so at the very least, we have 2 pitchers to choose between. We also have Cesar Cordova, who, to be honest, isn't that bad either, and is also blue chip. Yeah, so I think we're getting a starting pitcher here, barring a miracle. 22-year-old Lucas Davis, really solid, but without him being blue chip, he's 22. He's 4+ years away. I don't trust that. Ty Cardenas, a little bit of a step down. For a non-blue chip player, he'd have to be amazing. And we also have Steve Rosas. So it's going to be a starting pitcher. It's either going to be Martin, Cordova, or Alvarado. And unfortunately, with Cordova, I mean, he's 22. He should be ready next year, so there is that benefit. Martin's going to be ready in 2028. He's the youngest of the group. So let's take a look here. In terms of caps, 260s, the rest are 70s. Cordova has 260s, the rest are 70s, but he also has 280s in the mix. And then Alvarado has a couple of 60s, a couple of 80s. So I think, I mean, really, no one seems like a bad option here. None of these guys really seem like a bad option. It's just making sure that we get the best option. So again, with Martin, the stamina cap is, I mean, in terms of the actual grades, current over projected, I mean, quite a few 50s. I mean, so 4 50s, 3 60s, and a 40. Whereas with Cordova, I mean, we're looking at 3 450s, 2 70s, 2 65s, and Alvarado, it's kind of tough to say for sure, man. I mean, we're going to get somebody good regardless. So the 75 stamina, in terms of stamina, it goes to Alvarado, no question. And then again here we have 4 50s, 2 60s, and a 70. Where here, it all kind of balances out. Like, in terms of these ratings, they all kind of even out. It's just, who the hell do we want? Do we go for the bigger project in Clyde Martin? Do we take someone who's a year ahead in Benito Alvarado? Or do we go with Cordova, who's 22 and is ready next season? Yeah, he's going to be ready for next season. So do we go for that quick fix with Cordova, who could very well be the guy? That is the question. So Alvarado will be ready in 2 years, Martin in 3. All of them are blue chip. It's just if we base this off of overall, you know? And again, in terms of the attributes that I'm seeing here, current and projected, everyone seems to be about the same level. Man. My gut says Martin. The risk taker, quote unquote, in me says Cordova. Just to try and get the guy who's going to be ready next year. But I feel like if I take Cordova, we're going to miss out. But if I feel like if we don't take Cordova, I'm going to miss out. So, I just wish he wasn't 22. He's 19 and ready in 2 years. Martin is 23. So, you know what? I mean, Martin in 3 years is going to be 21. Cordova next year is going to be 23. Alvarado is, you know what, Martin? I'm going for Clyde Martin. Clyde Martin's the guy. Let's do it. By 21, he should be a beast. Alvarado and Cordova both went in the top 5 as well. We'll see if that goes down as the right call. I feel pretty good about it, but time will tell. Looking elsewhere, there is Cordova, Mendoza, excuse me, who we're going to avoid because of the high injury risk. There was also Rick Clemens, Rick Clemens, I can't read, apparently, who's not that bad, but I got a feeling he's going to be pretty low in terms of overall, so maybe one of these 75s will be a safer bet. With Antonio Serrano, really good power. It's not bad. Nothing else is that great but the power is interesting. Josh Marte, probably, he's not bad. I mean, the hits, Ks, and controls are going to be pretty low. Everything else was looking all right. Martin Abreu, fairly well-rounded as a catcher. That's not bad. That's not bad. I think I like him more than Serrano, because Serrano's a little bit one-dimensional in terms of the power. He has a good steal rating, whereas Martin Abreu is just very well-rounded as a catcher. I think right now he's the favorite. We also have Lugo, where if that's accurate, that's pretty good too. Lugo and Abreu right now, the favorites for me. Mendel's not bad either. So right now, Abreu's the favorite because there are two decent starting pitchers. We also have John Hines. I'd rather go for the catcher. Let's take a look here. Richie Burnett might not be completely terrible. So unless there's a pitcher where it's just undeniable, like Ryan Rector. Damn. Okay, when's our next pick after this? Okay, we have a couple of picks for compensation. I think we'll be able to get a starter one way or another, so I'm going to go with my gut here. We're going to take Martin Abreu, or Martin Abreu, depending. He is from the Dominican Republic. Just a very well-rounded catcher, and hopefully we can get a starting pitcher later on here. Rector goes to the Blue Jays, and that is very disappointing. That might go down as a big-time mistake. There's a good opportunity that it will. That said, we still have Marte, Mendel, and Burnett. So both Burnett and Marte are going to take the same amount of time. Mendel is going to be ready next year, apparently. With only 260s, everything else is higher. Burnett with the 360s, a 50, and a couple of 80s. And then Marte, the 350s. I mean, I don't really know if any of these guys are going to be that bad. I think Mendel is like surefire C potential. Just surefire C potential. But I'm going to take the risk with him at this point. I'm going to take Marcus Mendel. And we do have back-to-back picks. So between Marte and Burnett, who has the higher caps here? Let's find out. So in terms of the advantage right now, it goes to Burnett, back to Marte, back to Burnett, back to Marte, back to Burnett. I kind of like some of the extra 80s though, but you know what? Richie Burnett, screw it. We'll take him over Marte, and we get another pick coming up, and we're actually going to get Marte as well. So this is going to be a very pitching-heavy draft, apparently. 4 starting pitchers already selected, and a catcher, but you could argue that's where we need the most help. So I'm not against it. Let's see who else we have here. Luis Baez. Just well-rounded, nothing special in any way. Jose Ramiro. Again, well-rounded, nothing special. Gilberto Benitez, same story there. Bobby McLean is 22. I mean, yeah, it's the classic half-decent D potential story there. Stephen Nesbitt as a catcher. Honestly, not that bad. Michael Bond. Michael Bond. Rusty Aguila. And then what about Trevino? I mean, if we could trust those with Trevino, that would be phenomenal. I don't think we can, but based off of the info that we have, I'm going to take Domingo Trevino, because why the hell not? We might as well risk it based on the info that we have. So if you were one who thought that we needed a little bit of depth in terms of starting pitching, this was the draft for you, because that is exactly what we have brought in. In terms of ETA, I think we'll take the risk here. Let's go for Velasquez or Chen. Michael Chen out of Taiwan. We'll take a reliever. A very pitching-focused draft, but with those extra draft picks as well, it made sense to do it. And I think we'll also take Edwin Velasquez, as it just didn't seem to be that great of a draft for position players, at least based off of what we knew. One more pick, and we'll take Alex Shearer. So multiple starters, multiple relievers, and what could be a pretty decent catcher for us. Let's see how we did. And I think Clyde Martin was a safe pick. He might not have been the best overall, but 64 overall at 18 years old, 92 potential. I do not regret that pickup, that decision in any way. Clyde Martin, welcome aboard. That is a very good signing for us and really adds to the overall team depth. So Clyde Martin added to the list. And Jesus, yes, Martin Abreu. Oh my God. 75 overall at 19 years old, the 85 potential. Whew. Can you say steal? He's a big guy, too, at 6'4", 220. Wow. So Clyde Martin, very happy with that pick. And Martin Abreu, Jesus. So regardless of what happens, I mean, he could be our starting catcher next year. At the very least, could be the backup option, but probably not. I think MJ Melendez just got replaced by Martin Abreu. Ridiculous. Unfortunately, Marcus Mendel, not that great. 22 years old, only a 65 with C potential. We are still going to sign him just for the sake of, we have to fill out minor league rosters, so it makes sense. But Mendel is there. In terms of C potential, Richie Burnett, 5'10", 213 pounds. The 19-year-old's a 59 overall. Not bad. Will also be signed for the sake of depth, but nothing too special. And unfortunately, Josh Marte, not all that great either for C potential. He's okay. 55 overall at 19 years old. So we're certainly adding to the starting pitching depth, but no major acquisitions outside of Martin. Domingo Trevino, though, pretty solid for C potential. 67 overall at 20 years old. Not bad at all, but no major game changers in that gigantic cluster of starting pitchers outside of Clyde Martin. Michael Chen, as a D potential option, isn't that great. Will still be signed, though, to fill out the roster. We have Velasquez, who for a C potential reliever is actually pretty good. 20 years old, 70 overall. So Velasquez, welcome aboard. As again, I just need to keep track of everybody that we're getting here. And our final pick was Alex Shearer, who's a 72 overall at 21 years old. C potential, not bad. So the overall bullpen depth just improved. And to be honest, I'm happy with that draft. I mean, we only got the two major game changers, but that's a pretty good draft when you could say that you got two major game changers. Case in point with like Milwaukee, terrible draft for them. Steve Rosa certainly wasn't a better pick than what Clyde Martin would have been. Of course, for me, I'm going to look at the number one pick and see if I recognize any names that I was considering. Of course, as always, let me know in the comments if there's someone that I missed that you'd like to see the information on. But in terms of how we did with that number one pick, Theo Miller, 19 years old, but a B potential, a high B potential. Garcia's got a long way to go, as does John Hines, but a decent draft in terms of potential for the Dodgers. Rusty Aguilar would have been a C potential, would have been half decent. Giovanni McCord, we never really considered. Jose Moya, though, good lord, hell of a steal for the Giants. 19 years old, a 56 A potential. Goddamn, it can be done, and the Giants accomplished it because that is a great pickup for them. Good old Herb Barth. Not that great for the Red Sox. The Red Sox never seem to draft well. Acevedo is going to be pretty good. It's going to take him a while to get there, though. Do we have anybody else? Charlie Hammock is going to be pretty good. Ryan Rector ended up being B potential. He'll be pretty good, too. Much happier, though, to end up with the catcher that we ended up with. Rob Studer's there. Stephen Block. I think Rich Mendoza would have been a decent pickup. I think we made the right choice. Again, Les Webb is going to be great. Jarvis Ross is going to take a while to develop, and then Johnny Bump has a great name. Benito Alvarado, 19 and a 68. A potential. How does that compare then? 19 and a 68 compared to 18 and a 64. We really couldn't have gone wrong from the looks of it. So I'm happy. Dirk Franklin, brutal in terms of starting overall. Is there anybody else? Chuck Kidd, I mean, great potential, but he's a 52 at 22. That's just not going to happen for them. Nieves is brutal. Jason Lord's not that great. Moya's not that great. Lucas Davis would have been a swing and a miss. Serrano wouldn't have been too bad. Much happier with the catcher. And that's pretty much it. I think we did quite well. I think we did quite well for ourselves there. So I'm intrigued to see what the pitching situation looks like. I mean, right now the bullpen's looking pretty damn good. I will go ahead and sim to All-Star Weekend or week, and we'll take a look at the numbers from there, who our All-Stars happen to be. Like I said, hopefully we can go from beginning of the season to beginning of the season. It's not looking like the playoffs are going to be all that likely. We're up to 30 wins on the year. We are on pace for our best season yet, and I imagine that will be the case as Walker Buehler is dealt to the Royals. We're on pace for our best season yet. I imagine it will be. Still not quite there in terms of playoff potential, though, as we end up sweeping the Cubs. No participants in the home run derby, but we do have at least one All-Star, of course. So let's take a look. Who is our All-Star or All-Stars for this season, as we do not have any starting pitchers there. Is there anybody? So no pitchers this season, from what I recognize. And in terms of position players, we have Brian Lopez on the bench. Not bad. And I believe that is it. Indeed it is. So only one All-Star this season. It ends up being Lopez. I don't think I'm going to take a look at the stats now. I think I'll wait until the end of the year. Let's see if staying live proves to be that detrimental and already injuries pop up. I will see you guys at the end of the season, so that way I can at least take my sweet time. We'll get a look at how the team did. Like I said, barring a miracle, this will not be our first ever playoff episode. 62 wins, 100 losses, an unfortunate step back for the Reds this season. 65 wins 2 years ago, 68 wins last year. So not ideal, as for the third straight season, we're stuck around that 60-win mark, and we haven't quite been able to make that next step forward, unfortunately. Our season is over, so let's take a look at some of the members of this team, shall we? We'll start off with our starting pitchers, and Logan Allen, who is a legitimate 83. A couple of instances of regression, a 5-13 record with a 3.7 ERA, 3.12 whip, and then again, here's the problem with checking WAR. It's way the hell down there. So while it's nice to check, you can see how kind of tedious that is and why I keep it to the base stats. But not a terrible year for Logan outside of the win-loss record, but still, unfortunately, not quite enough. Mason Denneberg is an 85. Pissed off about the pay. Some good progression this year. 7-15 with a 3.76 ERA. So again, not a terrible season. Sam Wallace, an 84. Some decent progression. A 4.61 ERA with a 7-11 record. Not great. Sean Gelly, a 79 overall. At this point, a 4.52 ERA. Not great. And Thomas Manzanillo, who I believe we had on the bench. In fairness, there might have been the 4 September call-ups, and I think that's what it was. He is an 80, though. 147 innings pitched. He had a save this season, a 4.41 ERA. Herrera this year, only 18 innings pitched, and then Samwell with 164. He was quite brutal, a 76 playing like a 71. You look at Carrasco, where the hits per 9 have gone up at least by a bit. He's up to a 70. And of course, we have some other guys here, some C potentials that we're not as worried about. Bullpen-wise, Durbin Feltman, 78 overall. Not a great season for him, unfortunately. John Johnson didn't play that much. He pitched 2/3 of an inning and got charged with a loss. That's great. Andreas Tavares there as well. And in terms of the main relievers, Will Vincent is a 93. Some improvements, some minuses, but a 34 save season for him. Boyle is an 83 at this point. A decent season for him, not completely terrible. Richie Sorvala, a legit 79. Not as great of a season. And you also have the likes of Norman Garner, who's up to a 77. Of course, we brought in some insurance. Garner, the big one. Intrigued to see what he can do moving forward. MJ Melendez, a legitimate 80, whose job is very much at risk. 12 home runs, 53 RBIs with a 236 average is not terrible for a defense-first catcher, but there's no way he's going to survive the fact that we've brought in Martin Abreu. There's just no way. Henry Shipman is a 77. 6 home runs, 23 RBIs, and a 262 average isn't terrible for a bench first player. And then Josh Rincon is a 72. Of course, he played the majority of the season in AAA. Only 16 at-bats at the major league level. First base, Bobby Bloom. Bobby goddamn Bloom. An 88 overall. Some more improvement. That contact is ridiculous. 27 home runs, 88 RBIs, both career highs with a 321 average. His second time batting over 300. My God, Bobby Bloom, a 395 on base. Just ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. A 3.2 WAR rating. Bobby Bloom, ladies and gentlemen. 88 overall at 22 years old. I'm so desperate to start seeing him in a playoff format. You want to talk about one of the faces of the series? He is it, for sure. He might be the face of the series. We also have Marlon Puh, who is a 76 at this point and still won't be that bad of a bench player. Only had 15 at-bats. Of course, we played him in the AAA for the most part this year to try and get some development. You also have Will Glover, who, in fairness, as a bench option was great. 6 home runs, 24 RBIs, and a 303 average. Will Glover is pretty damn good, and that's going to cause a little bit of trouble with the amount of depth that we have there. At second base, Graham Edwards is a legitimate 86 overall. You get a look at some of the quirks as well, some decent improvements. 6 home runs, 43 RBIs, and a 245 average. So a decent season at the plate, at least a more consistent season in terms of the average. We also have Francisco Jimenez, who was our rookie. I don't believe he was Rule 5. He might have been. But a 77 overall. Some good improvement. A 273 average on the season. And then Big Joe Quinlan up to a 77 overall. He will be Major League ready next year, despite the lack of a power game. But there's no doubt he's going to be in the majors next season. I'm excited to see what happens. In terms of the clutter that we have on this squad, though, maybe we do get rid of some players for nothing, just to, avoid having that much of a logjam of talent. But Joe Quinlan is just about ready. Also noted Chad Bennett, who I don't think is ours. We ended up signing him, though. He was on the bottom of the list. At third, Nolan Jones, in 81. Some good improvement. 18 home runs, 69 RBIs, and a 269 average. So not a terrible season with him replacing Chavis. Lee Wilkins on the bench, and he continues to be an amazing bench option, at least in terms of grades. He's a 75, 295 average with 14 home runs on the year. And then Ramon Vasquez is the interesting one, where he's 21 and only a 68. He still seemed like the best pickup at the time, and I still kind of agree with it, even if we questioned it at the time. It just didn't seem like that strong of a draft. Time will tell. Shortstop-wise, Keston Hiura is an 83. Some good improvement this year. 16 home runs, 58 RBIs, and a 261 average. But is his spot in danger? I mean, it's him or Nolan Jones who may have to leave for Quinlan. That's not to mention, it's not to mention if, say, like Marlon Puh gets a job. Like, it's going to be interesting to see how this team lines up. Brian Lopez, our all-star, a legitimate 89, and I mean, my God, look at just the well-rounded nature. He is an absolute beast. 31 home runs, 91 RBIs, 24 stolen bases, and a 260 average. I do want to look at the WAR for him. 4.0. Brian Lopez, absolute monster. Maybe he's the face of this series. Quietly the face of this series over Bobby Bloom. Josh Stowers, a legitimate 83. 9 home runs, 31 RBIs, and a 226 average. From there, kind of lesser players. Eduardo Carrillo was our Rule 5 pickup as the speed option. A legit 79, some good improvement this year. 7 stolen bases, had 5 home runs. So he doesn't make contact much, but when he does, it goes pretty well. You also have Glenn Huff up to a 71, but at 23 years old, is he going to develop? It's looking less and less likely. And then Steven Ryder, who we kept, he's an 84. Some decent improvement this season. 22 home runs, 70 RBIs, and a 268 average. Was it worth giving him the contract that we did? It is debatable. Archie May also up to a 67, so not bad. Perhaps a future starter for us. And that's that for this season. Again, the win total was a little bit lower than we would have hoped, but there is still the promise, especially with the big names on this team. Will Vincent leading the way bullpen-wise. You look at the development of Joe Quinlan, the continued dominance of guys like Bobby Bloom and Brian Lopez. It's a very interesting spot to be in right now. The future is still bright, but we are not quite there yet. Let's sim to the end of the postseason. The winner of the World Series, the Atlanta Braves over the Red Sox. Let's take a look at how it went down. A sweep. So the Red Sox were able to beat Houston in 5. Atlanta outlasted Milwaukee in 7. And the Braves cruised. Let's take a quick look at the Braves, shall we? Oh my God, please work. Thank you very much. Carlos Correa, Kevin Kiermaier, Jesus Christ, this team. I think you can see why they won. Good Lord, how the hell did they balance that in terms of salary? That is absurd. League leaders for the record, Brian Lopez in terms of stolen bases. Kind of surprised we didn't have the league leader in terms of batting average, but let's take a look here. No award winners for us. Postseason MVP, Carlos Correa and Gabby Guerrero. The 31-year-old World Series MVP was Correa. MVP, Cody Bellinger and Mike Trout. Cy Young go to Jack Flaherty, his second in a row, and Colby Allard. Batting title to Correa and Brandon Nimmo. Reliever of the year, Vonder Sierro, would it be, and Robbie Scott. Rookie of the year, Jake McCarthy and Roberto Ramos. 106 RBIs for the 30-year-old rookie. Hank Aaron Award, Brandon Nimmo, and Ian Happ. So that is another season in the books. 2025 will be remembered more so for the continued development of some of our key prospects. Really, above all else, we don't lose anybody all that important to us. Actually, we don't lose anybody at all. We do lose our manager and third base coach, though. And we'll see who we can bring in. Hopefully not Clint Hurdle, but it might have to be Trevor McMillan or Quentin Ritchie. Let's go for Quentin Ritchie. That durability boost could be nice. And we'll try to sign you up for a bit. How's that looking? $21 million offer. He wants more than that. Let's go 23.1, Mr. Ritchie. And we also needed a third base coach. Let's go for Darnell Traherne. That works for me. That works for me. Is he willing to sign? He should be. I would hope. So in terms of exclusive negotiations, this is where it's going to get to be tough. Because these are going to be some big money offers. Guillermo Ramos we are going to let go of. He is not a major player for us anyway. Actually, he doesn't even belong to us. So we'll let him go. Durbin Feltman, I think will probably stay, depending on how much he's looking for. I don't think we're going to get compensation. $3.2 million a year for someone who honestly hasn't put up that great of numbers. If we get rid of him, our bullpen takes a pretty big hit, at least in terms of overall. Excuse me. As just looking at the stats though here. I mean, a solid K per 9 rating, but I don't know. I don't know if he's worth that much. I think we do need to get rid of or get the big contracts done first. I mean, obviously, Brian Lopez is the biggest contract, and the longer the term, the better. But I think we will go with, actually, you know what? I mean, how longer the term, the better. Where does it really kind of kick in with diminishing returns? Right about there with a 10-year deal. I don't know if he'll play for 10 years. Obviously not really going to look to do that. But a 5-year deal could work. And I'm going to offer him that base $22 million a year offer. We'll see if he accepts that. And then we'll take care of everything else from there. We have 6 days to negotiate. Lopez hasn't signed. Not really a surprise. Josh Stower is looking for $8.9 million. And when we look at the outfield situation, Stowers is a starter. We normally play Lopez in center. You got Carrillo there, who's not ideal. Archie May isn't ready. Stowers has to stay. We need to keep that outfield secured. So Stowers will be getting an offer as well. And we will offer him exactly what he is looking for now. Sam Wallace as a starter has only posted under a 4.0 once, and it was barely. There's no way he's getting $11 million from me. So we'll send out even then a qualifying offer. I don't know if a team is going to take him for that. I honestly think he's the type of player that would come right back. I think we might let go of Sam Wallace for nothing. Whereas Bruce Boyle, at least in terms of the walks and hits per 9, looking okay. I think Bruce Boyle's good enough to come back. $6.8 million over 5 years, that's okay. And then Richie Sorvala has at least had a couple of decent seasons. 3.5 is a bit much, but he does still have some value to us. And worst comes to worst, we can just ditch a contract for nothing. Kind of like we've handled it in NHL recently. I'm not against just getting rid of a guy, trading him for a D potential, terrible overall player, and just being like, okay, we can't afford that guy anymore. That's kind of our one out, and of course you can't even trade for picks anyway. So, I mean, Sorvala, a couple of 1.5s and some 1.3s there for the whip. And Feltman, a couple of 1.4s, a 1.6. I think I might keep Feltman. To be honest, the fact that he wants a 5-year deal is a bit much. Let's go 3 years, and we'll see what happens. And, of course, Ramos will be on the way out regardless. So the majority have signed. We're just waiting now for Stowers, and I think we're going to get rid of Wallace. There's no way I'm going to pay him that much money. And at this point, at that age, he's not going to get that much better. The problem is, I mean, he's an 84, even if he's playing like an 82. The fact that he's an 84 could help me get some compensation, though. I mean, I might as well risk it. I mean, we've sent out the Stowers deal. If he could hurry up and sign that, that would be great. Trahern has been signed. Stowers, come on, buddy. We need this. We really need you to sign as soon as possible. Quentin Ritchie is our new manager. Stowers has signed. So, with Sam Wallace, I think we're going to risk it here. I'm going to send out the qualifying offer. Hopefully he doesn't sign it. If he does, I'm just going to ditch him anyway. Unless, again, in the future we want to make that rule about not being able to ditch a player in those circumstances. But we are going to try to hold on to him in a way for the moment, at least get compensation for him. Give me a moment to sort out the rosters and get a look at some of the top overalls on the open market. And we'll see what happens through the rest of this offseason. All right, as per usual, the roster cleanout is done. It's only players on the roster right now that actually belong to us. And I was wrong. That reliever I talked about not being ours was ours. Thankfully, though, he wasn't that important. So Denneberg, Jones, and Samwell are the players looking for deals. Denneberg has been okay since we picked him up in the Rule 5. How much money is he looking for? Oh, we can get him on a sweet deal. 3 years of those arbitration years at 4.1. He is going to be pissed about it, but I need discounts. And if we start winning games, then we should really be fine on that front with him being pissed about it. Nolan Jones is an interesting one where we might have a little bit of clutter, but it's kind of the same thing. 3 years, $3 million, not that bad, and we can potentially move him if need be. And Roger Samwell has been brutal. How much money is he looking for? 2.1. He's a 75. Roger, I think we're done here. I think we're done with Roger Samwell. I think we're going to take him off the list at this point. He is one of our higher rated starting pitchers, but yeah, he's got to go. It's not going to work out for the 25-year-old. The numbers have just been far too poor. So that pretty much covers the big money moves. We have some other contracts that we do need to attend to. I'm actually just going to sim forward a couple of days. Lucas Sims to the Dodgers, Paul Fry to the Mets, Kyle Wright to the Brewers, as we lose Kyle Martin off of waivers, which is nothing, as Dylan Cousins signs. Martin would have been one of the players that we ditched. So Jones hasn't signed yet. We have until the 23rd. Let's go ahead and send out some of these other offers now. Manzanillo, good chance of being a pitcher at the major league level. We're going to get him on a pretty damn good deal, though, still at this point, $900K. Eduardo Herrera, we will look to bring back as well. He's a 73. There is an outside chance of him being on the major league roster. Time will tell, but still worth keeping around. Carrasco, I don't think will be at the major league level, but still, we'll sign Valenzuela and Cedeno for the hell of it, just to keep the roster filled out. Silva, let's go. Oof. I mean, he's a D potential. There's a chance he's going to retire before anything happens, but $540K over 1 year, I think we'll take that, because there is actually a legitimate chance that he retires being a D potential. Jack Burden, such a weird player at this point. Norman Garner will definitely be in the bullpen next season, so we'll pay him like it's $700K. Napoleon Gillis will more than likely be the AAA closer. We'll go $600K, and Jimmy Grace, bump him up to $100. Damian Camacho, just a guy to help fill out the organizational depth chart for now. Joel Quinlan, like I said, will probably be major league ready, so we're going to bump him up to $700K. Jimenez can go 2 years at $750. We'll take advantage of that. Juan Calzado, let's go 3 years at $566. Dave Miles, go $100K. He's actually not looking that bad. And Carmen Avila, who's been on this roster for a while, again, just AAA, AA, wherever the hell we need him for now. Carrillo, interesting one. We'll go 2 years. I still like him as an off-the-bench option, mainly because of his speed, but in this past season, he actually did pretty well at the plate. Bryant K, I'm going to pay you relatively well, even though I don't think he'll be a major leaguer. And Stephen Booth as well. Archie May needs to be brought back for obvious reasons. Dan Williams and Greg Leary. So there we go. Sent an offer out to pretty much everyone. Not surprised that Miles rejected. Beatty signs. Tyler O'Neill. Vander Sierro. Is there anybody that we're waiting for? Nolan Jones still hasn't signed. We have until the 23rd, but goddamn if his stinginess isn't helping me. Sam Wallace has accepted the qualifying offer. I was afraid of that. Sam, hate to tell you, buddy, but you're going. I don't know where. To whatever team can afford you, you're going. There you go. We'll trade you for Villalobos. Sorry, Sam, but you are off this team. I'm not going to sit there and pay the money. So the downside to that, of course, is that we don't get any compensation for him, right? We get a player that after this year, we're going to end up releasing. So that's kind of the one downside. Like I said, if the rule were to be you can only send qualifying offers to those that you actually intend to keep, then I just wouldn't send an offer to them anyway. So Dave Miles is really testing my patience here, by the way. So is Nolan Jones. Nolan, you are killing me here. 9.1 over 3 years isn't enough for you, huh? In fairness, so what would that be? $3 million, I guess it was 9.1 total. Let's go up to $10 million even over the next 3 years. Hopefully he signs, and we can move on with our lives. Nolan, you're killing me. Everybody else is signed. We're just waiting for Nolan Jones. Ridiculous. As Justice Sheffield, man, Oakland doing pretty well. Nolan Jones. Are we going to have an issue here? No, we're not. Okay, he signs 3 days before the deadline. Again, I'm going to let Roger Samwell walk for obvious reasons. It's just not working out with him. And I think at this point, I'd rather just ditch him. I mean, again, for the fact he's looking for $2.1 million. Is he worth keeping for $2.1 million? You know what? 1 year, 2.1. We'll see if he signs, because I have the money to do it. And if he signs, cool. If not, then screw it. So let's see. He's got a couple of days to sign. Don't stop simming. Samuel, have you signed? That is the question. I do not see him, so I believe Samuel has left the club. Which, you know, you could argue it was worth keeping him because, you know, he's at least a better option than what we had. But when he was essentially detrimental to the team, was he really worth keeping? That's the question. So we'll sign Corey Ray, Eric Fetty, Greg Bird, Kristen Stewart. Let's just get to the Rule 5, man. Let's get to the Rule 5. We're taking a starting pitcher. Might be the way to go. We do have the number 1 pick. Let's take a look. So case in point, Joe Bailey could immediately replace him. 24B and a 79. That is crazy. There's quite a few 79 overall guys, but there's no doubt in my mind he is the best option. Unless someone has like a crazy A, like 23 being a 77 for Charlie Woodard isn't that bad. But yeah, we're pretty much good to go. If I wanted to take a starter, that would be the guy, Joe Bailey. The hits per 9 are a little bit concerning, but in terms of the potential to get better, he has it. Bullpen-wise, not really seeing anybody stand out as far as like a younger option to absolutely take. Andreas Tavares changes that. Andreas Tavares would be the guy we're taking. Bucky Nance as well as an option, but just out of pure necessity, I think it has to be Joe Bailey. And it's going to be. I don't even care if there's like a really good position player. We desperately need Joe Bailey, and we are going to take him. Tavares ends up going to the Mets. So Joe Bailey, welcome to the team, replacing Roger Samuel. Let's see who we have as far as a position player is concerned. At catcher, there is way too much depth already. First base, Vladimir Mesa might be worth it just for a late shout. At second base, a little bit of a logjam of talent. You look at someone like a Mario Trujillo, who is probably worth taking. 24B and a 72. At third, I think it's still Trujillo. Tyler Nevin's not bad, but obviously how the hell would we even fit him onto this team? At shortstop, Jason De Los Santos is probably the guy to take, just for that high ceiling. It's either for me right now, De Los Santos or Mario Trujillo. 24B and a 74 against a 25A and a 74. I think I'd rather take De Los Santos. That said, outfield-wise as well, I think we're good. There wasn't a really strong prospect to take, so I think that decision's quite easy. We could take Bobby Brewer, but I'm all right with the infield option. I think I'm going to go for Jason De Los Santos just for the hell of it. He'll bolster up the AAA team, and hopefully we can get them somewhat close to making the playoffs. Keston Hiura, as you can tell, is our only guy right now at shortstop. Now, the whole situation's going to change, but there we go. Bailey and De Los Santos have joined the team. Those are our two picks in the Rule 5. I do want to get to spring training. The team is going to change, of course. Before the next episode, we'll fill out the roster, and we'll begin everything anew. But right now, you can see 5th ranked in first base, 9th in left field, thanks to Lopez. We're looking pretty good. De Los Santos has the renewable contract. We'll just go ahead and actually, in fairness. I don't think he's going to play at the major league level, but there we go. We'll go ahead and renew that, and then the spring training, we go. Do not stop simming. Do not pass go. One thing to check here, because I might forget before the next episode, do we have any better scouts? We do. Not that Gary Buckley is bad, but just that better efficiency. Do we take higher efficiency over better scouting of position players? I really wish Hernandez wasn't in the West, because I think we're going to keep Buckley in the East. Terrible efficiency. Everything else is pretty good, though. Yeah, I think I'm going to sign Brenner over Guardado. Maybe. You know what? No, I mean, that discovery rating sucks, but it is what it is. International-wise, with Matthews, I think we're good. Yeah, our scouts are pretty much locked in. The top prospect list, Joe Quinlan, has moved up to 3rd. De Los Santos is at 9. This list may change. We'll check again before we begin the season sim. Carrasco in 16th. Is there anybody else? Clyde Martin, who we just picked up, is 31st. And that is it. But still, we have some representatives on the team. And in general, the club's looking pretty damn good. I mean, led by Vincent Lopez, Bobby Bloom, Graham Edwards is up to an 88. This team's going to be very interesting. We might have to move some players around and sort a few things out, but I'm excited to see what the final product looks like. I'll have the team set up and good to go with all of our depth signings before we begin the next episode. Will this next season be the year that we finally take a step forward? Can we get over the 60 win mark? Can we maybe, somehow, some way, push for a playoff spot? That's the question. We'll find out in the next one. Until then, I hope you have a good one. Take it easy. Check out everything in the description. Support the video. Interact with the video. You know what I mean by that because I say it at the end of every episode. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you next time.